What's up, everyone? This is Alex Bareilles with REI Real Talk. Today, I have a special guest. Is Dr. Randi Shannon, and she is a world-renowned naturopathic doctor. She is a face, tongue, and fingernail expert, so she has some really cool knowledge to share with us. I brought her on because, as investors, entrepreneurs, a lot of us are caught up in the hustle of life and the hamster wheel kind of just working hard and taking care of our family. And we're just, we kind of let our health go sometimes and we don't pay as much attention to it as we should. And, I believe in the natural side of things, and that's what she specializes in. I lost faith in the traditional, medicine and FDA and stuff like that. So I kind of, I saw her on a podcast and I said, man, this woman knows what's going on. And I think a lot of people would benefit from the value that she could provide as far as information on nutrition and stuff. So I brought her here, and she's been on the Sean Hannity podcast. She's been on Dr. Charlie Ward's podcast. He's really big in the truther movement. And I'm going to give you the floor, Dr. Shannon. So go ahead and drop your knowledge.
That's so great. Well, thank you so much for having me, Alex. And it's been nothing but a joy. And what I love about you is that you're like me in the sense that you're just always on the fly. And, you and I have just had these, some quick interactions. And when we did a call, it was like straight to the point and getting those meat and potatoes out there and getting the answers that you needed for health of your other half, et cetera. So, the thing is life is busy. Yep. And we're all busy. The listeners are busy, but we can be so busy. But if we let our health go, none of that matters. None of this matters. The cars don't matter. The houses don't matter if you're 6.5 feet under.
Absolutely.
So we have to take care of our health, because there is a saying, and maybe everybody on here has listened to it, but it's so factual. You spend all of your health chasing wealth, and then you spend all of your wealth chasing your health.
Wow.
Yeah, right? And it's not how we want it to be. We want to be healthy as we're chasing all that wealth, if that's what we want to do. Or if you're just the kind of person that just wants to perpetually be on the beach, then you still have to have your health. Okay. And so when we're super busy, there's things that we're missing. And it's like inevitable every single day in a conversation with a new client. I have many new clients this last year, over 5,000 clients in the last year and a half. And it's never ending. There is no end in sight. I'm working all weekend. It's just the way it's been month after month now, because so much is going on with the health of the people.
Yeah.
So, whenever I listen to them, they'll say, well, I was taking a CoQ10 and I take a vitamin C, and I know I don't get enough sun, so I'll take a D3. And it's literally just cherry picking. And that's not enough. The body actually, even if you're a couch potato, needs anywhere between 91 and 93 essential nutrients every single day. And take a busy person. Let's say you go to the gym. Let's say you got all of that into your body. And now you go to the gym. In about 45 minutes, you've sweated all of that out and you need to replenish it. Can you drive the car 60 days from now and not have put any gas in or oil in? And this vehicle that we walk around in every day is far more important than that car that we're driving. I don't care if it's how do you call it, a jalunky or something? I know there's a term for it. Or it's a Maserati. It does not matter.
Yeah.
Okay. You still have to put the same, gas, oil, spark plugs. And this body is no different. We walk around with all these organs inside, liver and kidney and spleen and gallbladder, and we don't fortify them. We don't do anything. We just expect them to work. But I want to give you a visual. I want to give the listeners a visual. When somebody's in a situation where they're going into shock, like maybe it's an accident side of the road, very hurt, all of a sudden the legs don't work, the hands don't work, you can't walk or talk, you start talking gibberish, or maybe even go unconscious.
Yep.
what's happening is the brain is prioritizing and is saying, okay, arms, legs, we can chop you off. We don't even need you to function. We're going to pull all the oxygen, all the blood away. The brain is saying this, and it puts it all towards the heart to keep it alive. So yeah, it's prioritizing. So it's prioritizing every single day to every single person as well, just not in a shock situation. So
Right.
what does that look like? Going gray early, losing your hair, organs starting to not work, maybe getting varicose veins or hemorrhoids or migraines or kidney stones, gallbladder stones. How
Right.
many people listening have lost a gallbladder, a thyroid, a tonsil, a reproductive system for the women? You know, how many people have cancers or enlargements or ED? And then what do? They go to the doctor and he gives a drug. They are in the business, and I'm sure that there's some of them that are going to be listening to this that are medical doctors, and they're in the business of disease management. I'm actually in the business of healthcare. So what does that mean? I'm getting the nutrients to the people in the dosing that they're supposed to be having them, and then we reverse the issues naturally. No drugs, no prescriptions. That's what a naturopathic doctor does. And then I take it one step further. And my expertise is I look at the face, the fingernails, and I look at the top and bottom of the tongue. And sometimes there's other marks of concern on the body, and I look at those as well. Like, you would not believe some of the pictures that I get, and the people that are sitting at home just totally suffering. Just in the last week, I thought I had seen it all. And this last week, I got a picture of a tongue from a guy on the top, and it was unlike anything I've ever seen. This guy's just sitting at home, and he's in the worst shape ever imaginable. And it affected so many of his organs. And then I had another one where it was a man.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but with the tongue, what were you able to tell? Like, what were you able to tell with that guy specifically?
Major digestive issue, kidney bladder issue, respiratory issue. He had, different discolorations on top of it. They were like literal coatings on top of the tongue. Those all mean things. They mean, can be candida, can be liver. There's just different things. I've had a client that had scleroderma, which the medical community claims is not reversible. And that's where the skin literally, it's almost like it dies. It just turns black, becomes very hard and rough. And eventually a lot of the people can't walk. And then that results into everything just catapults. It's like this domino effect. This doesn't work, that doesn't work. And I took a guy that had not been able to walk for about 8 straight years. His legs, his feet, his arms, his cheeks were all black. His tongue was black. And all of these tissues were just dying. And in about 3 months, we pinked it all up. And people can go to my Instagram and see the pictures because they're right there. Yeah, Instagram.com/thebodycan, CAN.com. Or Instagram, there's no .com at the end of that. But they can go there and scroll down. The pictures are in there. And I was showing it to a friend of mine, and he said, "Oh my gosh, you can't reverse scleroderma." And I said, "I'm so glad you said that, because now look." And then I flashed to the next picture, and the guy's nice and pink, and he had called me and said, "I'm walking now," after he hadn't walked for 8 straight years.
Amazing.
Yeah. So your body is telling the story about what's going on in all your systems. And it shows in the face, the fingernails, and the tongue. We've never been taught this. Nobody knows how to read this. I'm one of the few in the world that knows how to read this down to it. And I literally, just before you and I went live, received a text message from one of my clients. And he showed me this picture of his uncle, and he says, he just died. And I asked a couple questions like, did he take the jab or anything? Because, there seems to be a lot of commonality with that, with people in the heart. And he said, no, he just died. And he just said suddenly. That's all he said. So I said, well, that's, terribly sad. I'm sorry for your loss. I go, but I can see from that little picture that you sent me And it was like a distant shot of the guy, but I zoomed in and I said, I can see that he did have a heart problem and he did have a kidney problem. And he responded, I can't even believe you said that, because he did.
Wow.
Right. So,
You can tell just from the face.
yeah, just from his face, I could see it real clear. It was super obvious to
That's
me.
awesome.
Yeah. So I really love what I do. And I kind of explain it like this. We are like the rings of a tree. If anybody's ever heard of, you take a tree, you cut it in half, and you look at the rings and you can see, has the tree been exposed to fire or pestilence or flood? We show that too. So I can tell if you're eating bad foods, if you're breaking rules that have to do with, like I call it my food Bible, things that you can't eat. If I have a client who's not getting better, I just look at the top of their tongue and I say, okay, you're still breaking the rules. And I can see it clearly here. I don't have to be at your dinner table to know. I just have to see the damage. And when I see the damage, super obvious.
Awesome. Let me ask you, Dr. Shannon, you're talking about your analogy with an oil in cars. And I was thinking about like the misconception that I think a lot of people have about oils in our body. Like I always thought olive oil was good for you. I thought coconut oil was healthy. Can you elaborate on that? You kind of set me straight on that, and I think a lot of people would like to hear that.
I think they're going to be shocked. So there's a doctor running around, and he's a heart doctor, and he rhymes with Mundry. I don't know, just making something up. But if anybody
does it start with a G? Does it start with a G?
Yes, it does.
Oh, my mom was telling me about that guy.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I actually just happened to see an infomercial of his just like 24 hours ago, and it said, take a drink of this right before you go to bed and your spouse will love you. And I thought, why? Because maybe they don't like you and they plan on cashing in the life policy on you? What? Because what he's saying is completely wrong. Okay? Wrong. So the oils that the people are eating, and I don't care if it's in almond milk, coconut milk, I'm about to blow everybody's mind. So everybody needs to pay attention because this will save your life. All of these oils are rotten and rancid. And I'm going to give everybody a picture. If you take a bite out of an apple, okay, and let it sit on the counter for 15 minutes, and you don't eat any more, what starts to happen?
It oxidizes, gets brown.
Right. It's starting to turn brown, starts to go bad. So imagine that same apple on the counter after, let's say, 30 days or 60 days. What's it going to look like?
Terrible. Rotten.
You're never going to eat that, right?
Right.
Right. You got to be starving on a desert island or something to want to eat that at that point. So here's the thing. The oils, when you crack that coconut, you've now exposed that to oxygen. Okay. So the longer it's exposed to oxygen, it oxidizes. And then that causes incredible oxidative stress in our body, cell damage. It literally bastardizes our cells.
Wow.
So cell death. I mean, it's just not good for us at all. So the oils in a bottle have an air gap between, the oil itself and the top of the lid. Okay. And it's oxidizing the whole time it's in that bottle. Then how long did it sit on your counter or in your refrigerator? Still oxidizing. How long was it exposed before they got it in the bottle? Oxidizing. And so they actually, there's videos about this, they actually pump the oils full of gas to make it not smell rotten or rancid. Okay. And that's why you don't really taste that. But if you go into a restaurant, and I went to a very high-end restaurant in the Gables, Coral Gables, recently, and they were really telling all about this amazing appetizer. And I said, wow, this sounds fantastic. What oil do you cook it in? Because no oil is good, just FYI. No oil is good because it's all sitting on the shelf for too long of a time. And they told me it was a canola oil, and this was a very high-end restaurant in Coral Gables. And it's probably one of the most popular restaurants that there is. Like during the whole lockdown, they never, ever skipped a beat. They were having $100,000 days. I mean, they did fantastic. Wow. So, yeah. And so I said, no, I'll pass. But here's the thing. All the oils are rotten and rancid. If you crack the coconut and extract that oil and you eat it in the next 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. I'm super good with it. It's very nutritious to our bodies. That's what you want. Make your own almond milk and drink that milk, within the next hour. But every minute that it's exposed, it becomes rotten and rancid, and it does damage your body. And so if you look at the underneath of your tongue, everybody go to the mirror, look at the underneath of your tongue. If you look blue, purple, or black underneath of there, you need to seek my help, because that is a stagnation of the blood, a lack of oxygen, a lack of flow. If you go to an acupuncturist, they're going to say you need to move your energy or your chi. It's the same thing as we got to get the blood moving, because that has slowed it down. And there's actually some European study. I was listening to another doctor tell about the study, and he said that they have tracked people and found that those rotten oils stay in the blood cells for about 7.5 years.
No way.
In our bloodstream. It's like sludge. It's like toxic sludge. And so on the underneath of the tongue, it should be very gummy colored, like the color of your gums. And that's really fantastic if that is the case, because then it's like a fast moving LA freeway. We got the blood just really going the way it's supposed to be in the body. But if you see any of those colors, even though I know you have veins and capillaries and blood vessels, I should not see the color there underneath of your tongue. And that's when you definitely have to reach out to me, because short of a doctor giving you a drug or going into a surgery, they're not going to be able to remove that. They don't even know about it. But that's my expertise. So that's what I do all day long, not just there, but I look at the top, the bottom, I look at the fingernails and the face. I spoke with a 28-year-old gentleman just a matter of 2 hours ago, 3 hours, and he spent the weekend in the hospital. He came to me for an analysis, a full analysis. I looked at his fingernails. He had signs of osteoporosis. He had signs of internal bleeding. His face showed pancreas, spleen, liver issues. His tongue, he had severe candida, hormonal issues, definitely had the blockage. He had heart issues. All of these things were showing.
Wow.
He's just 28.
Crazy.
I said, what have you been eating? What have you been doing with your life? And he said, well, I went to Subway and, I did this. And so he eats a lot of foods with nitrates and nitrites. Those are not okay. Fried foods are not okay. If you want to go to the grave early, you eat fried foods.
What foods have nitrites? I'm sorry to cut you off. Just for people.
Yeah, no.
Nitrites. What would that be?
Bacon is one. Lunch meats, salamis. They put that in there. So now you can really look for meats that brag no nitrates, no nitrites. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you a good story about what that does to the body when we get them.
Okay.
Have you ever had your spouse say, oh, my feet are cold, when it really wasn't cold out, and she's like trying to
wait till then.
Right.
To count.
Exactly. So she's probably had a nitrate or nitrite or two. So there's a story, a doctor that I work with, and he got called to a farm in Wisconsin. And what had happened is this farmer had 200 lambs that were going to slaughter the next day. And the night before they went, they were all happy. Everybody was good. And then, the temperatures dropped a little bit, but livestock should be able to handle a temperature drop. Right. But all of them died. But the farm to the left and the farm to the right, none of their livestock died. And the temperature wasn't that low that it should have killed any of the animals. So,
was that the video that went viral with all the dead cows? Are you speaking about that?
No. This was many years ago.
Okay.
But who knows? Maybe that's the case with those cows. I've often wondered if that was the case, because maybe they couldn't regulate. And so you'll understand here in a second what I'm talking about. Could have been that, could have been something else. I don't know, because no autopsies, to my knowledge, have been done. But in these lambs, the doctor I work with was initially a doctor of veterinary medicine. He did that for 50 years. Then he became a naturopathic physician. So he was called up there. He used to work with Marlon Perkins of Wild Kingdom, which was a show when I was a little kid. And he gets called up there and he does autopsies on 50 of the lambs. He also checked the food, the water, the ground that they were walking on, the grasses. And what he found is that a farmer that was north of him was dumping nitrates in the water. And so
Wow.
the lambs were drinking that. That was their source of water. So what happens when we get that is it shuts the thyroid's ability off to regulate our body temperatures. So that's a sure sign of somebody whose thyroid is being dysfunctional. And there's really only a few ways to bring that back on. But thyroids, our doctors are rampant in pulling those out. And really, most of them, probably 99% of them, are salvageable. Same with gallbladders and kidneys. And it just takes certain things to pull them out of their funk, if you will. Everybody in the world wants to detox everything. I want to give it TLC because I find that works. Now, is there need for detoxes? Absolutely. But I love to give TLC to the organs. And thyroids are such an easy. If you've ever heard of a goiter,
Yeah.
it's another sign of a thyroid not working. It's like where there's kind of like, it's almost like it could be a softball, it could be the size of a mandarin orange, but it's a lump underneath the skin. And it's benign. It's not usually cancerous at all. And it's just growing and growing and growing. And, it like almost chokes them out. And doctors always want to surgically remove it. But in 3 months, you can take it down to nothing.
Wow.
It's just, yeah, it's nutrients. The body's just void of nutrients.
And that's how you treat people, right, Dr. Shannon? You just you give them the right vitamins and minerals and kind of diet change. You're not giving them any drugs or anything.
No. Exactly. All vitamins, minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids. I used to work for an acupuncturist several years ago, and he put people on Chinese herbals only. And I found that did not work. And I knew it wouldn't work, but now I got to see it firsthand that it really didn't work. And so one day I went to him, and he was very well known where he was. And I was recommended to go and work with him because he knew how to do the tongue analysis. And so I went in. Practice was super busy. I mean, I'd go in at 8 and be done at 6, and it felt like 5 minutes. I mean, we were busy. And so one day I went to him and I said, out of respect for you, I do not say anything to the clients, but they need so much more than the Chinese herbals. And his response to me was, thank you for your silence.
Wow.
So yeah.
Didn't
So
want you out that.
and I knew in that moment I could not work for him anymore. And I informed him that I was going to be done. I gave him, a nice notice. He literally begged me to stay and said, you have this gift with the people, and you have such a bedside manner with them, and all of my patients love you. And he had somebody that was an intern who had been through all the schooling, et cetera. And he said, you're even better than her. And she's got all this experience in acupuncture, but you just do better with the patient. And I said, yeah. And that's why I really need to go, because I just needed to give this TLC and this information to my clients, not somebody else's where they were going to be cut short. I was not okay with that. So every one of my clients gets treated as if it's me or my sons, who are my most important, people in my life. So
there's another thing you mentioned to me that I think people will be kind of shocked about. Everyone kind of preaches that dairy is so bad, right? Like milk and this and that. And I think a lot of people, at least my friends that are health conscious, they drink almond milk and like oat milk and all this stuff to avoid dairy. Can you speak to that as far as dairy not being kind of like as bad as they make it, as they portray it?
Yeah. So the thing is, and I just explained about why the coconut milks and the almond milks and everything are bad, because they have all the oils in them. So they're not okay to drink. If you make your own almond milk, I'm super good with it. Same with coconut milk, etc. But you also have to drink it in a timely manner. Now, milk itself, and I don't care if it's, who else do we get milk from? Goats, etc. It's coming from the animal. It's not going to have oil in it. Okay, so it's going to be fine. The enemy was never dairy or milk from an animal. The enemy was always the factory farming, the factory farming where the animals are being shot up day after day after day with the antibiotic.
Yeah.
That's what harms us when they're taking the growth hormone and things like that. They're being fed that to produce and produce and produce. That's horrible for us.
Right.
And so that's the enemy. So I say drink all the milk that you want to drink, but just make sure it's a clean source. It's got to be clean. And they got to be bragging on their containers that that cow is not being shot up with different things. And they will. If they're a good farmer, they'll tell you, because that's a huge selling point. And I drink milk. And I want to say I'm 55 years of age. I do not color my hair. Same hair color as when I was a little kid. And, you know, I just eat healthy, a lot of eggs, no wheat, barley, rye, or oatmeal. I'm going to give you the food Bible right here. No wheat, barley, rye, or oatmeal, no buckwheat. All of those things destroy the digestive system. And I'll explain that more in a minute. No fried foods, no foods cooked in any oils, no processed meats, no carbonated beverages. That's going to be a hard one for a lot of people. Carbonation is putting bad in when all the body wants is oxygen in, and we're getting that CO2. Well, we exhale all of that. So why would we want to be putting it in? So you got to get rid of the carbonation. I go to restaurants, they say, do you want still or like a spritzer water? No, still every time. And I just don't drink sodas, things like that. So those things all age you like greatly. In fact, they say, there's a study, I would have to find it, but they say that carbonated beverages cut your life in half. Is that soft drink really worth it? Or the carbonation? Mm-hmm.
What about those carbonated waters that don't have like
No.
the seltzer ones? Bad too?
Nope. Anything carbonated, it's got to go.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about, I remember I was kind of shocked about this, the sugar thing. So you were telling me that like sugar's okay, but from sugar cane, and you were saying like Splenda's bad. Can you speak to that? Like what sugar is okay and what like, you know, the false sugars or the whatever the synthetic ones you can't have.
There was a doctor, and I want to say her name was Colleen Huber, but don't quote me on the name, but I'm pretty sure I'm really close. Colleen did a study. She has all cancer patients. And this was years ago. I don't even know if she's still in practice. I don't know anything about her anymore, but I happened to catch this. And she tested all the sugars out on her cancer patients to see what the cells would do and how the people would respond to the different things. One was a organic maple syrup, honey, stevia, of course, the Splendas and the pink, blue, and yellow packets, and even the white, because that's all super processed, and it's very much more of a chemical. Okay, so anything that tells you that they're bragging it's a sugared product, but it's 0 calorie, you have to be super suspect about what's in that. We can't just be like, like dumb sheep to the slaughter. You have to question things. Like, how is this even possible? And so all of those are bad. And the cancer patients reacted, the cancers continued to grow on all of the bad things. And
even Splenda, right? Sorry to cut you off, but I feel like a lot of people think Splenda's okay.
Yeah, it's not okay. None of them. And in fact, I did a story on that many years ago. I don't even know if it's findable on the internet anymore, but I did a story on that the FDA had actually said no to passing that one. And then there was like a strong arm thing that happened.
Okay.
And all of a sudden it's okay now. So the answer was no at first, because it just had all kinds of negatives, and now it's just there, and now it's on every table. And whenever I go into a restaurant, if I have a cup of coffee, I always get maple syrup if they have it. And I'm not talking the pancake one. I'm talking 100% grade A. There was a point where I was doing a lot of traveling on the road prior to the lockdowns, and I was doing lectures in hotels all the time, and I would carry my own little maple syrup bottle with me. So, and I carried a lot of salt with me. That's another one we should talk about, because people are super clueless on that.
Oh yeah, I want you to get into that, but go ahead.
Yeah. So, and I eat a lot of honey, because the honeybees, you don't want like, again, factory fed, where they're just like giving them sugar water all day. You want the ones that are honeybees that are just roaming the countryside and getting the nectar from the flowers and the different plants. That
Is it called pasteurized, or what's that honey called that you should eat?
well, I mean, I just want it straight from the comb. That's the best. That's the best.
Natural.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of fruit or produce type of markets around, and those small farmers aren't doing anything. They literally are pulling it straight out of the honeycomb and putting it in the glass. It's perfect. I
I
don't
heard
want
that can make you sick, so that's not true.
what's not true?
Like that honey that comes directly from farmers can make you sick because it's not pasteurized or something. That's not
No.
okay.
I don't even know if they do that to honey, but if they do, yeah, don't let them alter the honey at all. Straight from the bee is all you want. Straight from
Okay.
the bee. Okay, so you ready to move to salt?
Yeah. Tell me about. I was shocked with that too. Go ahead.
Okay. Remember what I said?
I do, but I think other people need to hear it.
Okay. So a lot of doctors will tell their clients stop eating salt. And that sent a lot of people to the hospital. So I want you to get a visual. Again, you got to think when they're saying something. So when somebody goes to the hospital in like a shock situation, what's the first thing they hook up to them? A
Monitor.
saline bag. Saline bag. What's that? That's salt water. So they know that every cell in the body needs salt. So why did they tell people to stop eating salt? God only knows. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. It gave them more clients. Maybe that was it. But if you look at the Japanese culture, they have half our cancers, half our disease, and they eat somewhere around 12 to 15 grams per day. You can, ask Siri, do a Google search, whatever. They eat 12 to 15 grams per day. Half our cancer, half our disease. So the American diet has somewhere around 1 to 3 grams of salt per day. We're very under nutrified with salt. Every cell in our body needs it.
Mm-hmm. But they always push no salt. Salt causes heart disease. So all that's just BS. Wow.
Yeah, lies.
There's no correlation with salt and like heart problems or blood pressure.
Nothing. No. We need salt. The other one was they told people to stop eating the yolk of the egg. Mm-hmm. Or just eggs in general. But if you go into restaurants now, you can just order the whites. Right. And a lot of bodybuilders will only eat the whites if they're going to eat it. The egg is truly the most perfect food. So the outer shell is pretty much all calcium. Then you've got the white of the egg, which is great for the hair, skin, and nails. And then the yolk is the most beautiful part of the egg. So the brain, let me just explain this. The brain is made up of 75% is the myelin sheath. 100% of that is made up of cholesterol. That cholesterol comes from the runny yolk of the egg. Okay. So basically 75% of the brain weight is going to be the cholesterol. Pretty close in there. Okay.
Wow.
The male and female anatomy is made up of 95%, almost 100% cholesterol. We get that from the runny yolk of the egg. If you hard cook an egg, hard boiled, you're going to get a blue or purple line around the yolk of the egg. That was the good cholesterol, and you killed it.
Wow.
Okay. When they told people to stop eating eggs, we used to have somewhere around 3 to 4 different types of dementias. Now it's up around 13, 14, 15. Probably going to continue to grow. That's because they told people to stop eating the egg.
Wow.
Right. So that cholesterol keeps us from being dopey. It makes us sharp. It makes all of the lower part work. So things like ED and enlargements, they potentially, now there is other sustenance that's needed, but they potentially would never even happen if you were getting the good cholesterol. Some of them, you can Google search this. You can look at the most amazing, beautiful, natural bodybuilders, and they're eating 20 to 25 eggs a day.
But with the yolk.
With the yolk. With the yolk. And
So that's
everybody
the
I know
whole
of,
misconception that the yolk causes like high cholesterol, like bad
no.
cholesterol. No,
And even medical doctors do not understand this. So I'm going to make everybody understand. That gives us the good cholesterol. But when you eat fried foods or foods cooked in oils, these rotten and rancid oils, that actually takes good cholesterol and makes it bad. So that's how we have a bad number and we have a good number. We want the good to be as high as the sky, off the planet. And we want this one to be as low as possible. So you've got to eliminate the fried foods and the foods cooked in these rotten rancid oils, which the coconut milks, the almond milks, etc., that also contributes to the bad cholesterol number. That's what creates. Mm-hmm. And
so
then
go ahead.
one last twist on that. It's going to mind blow everybody right now. When we have that bad cholesterol number, then the doctors say, oh, I need to put you on this cholesterol lowering drug, which guess what? Shuts off the brain and shuts back off the anatomy.
Away.
Yeah. Nobody's correlating that, but that's what's happening.
That's disgusting. So instead of the oils, what should we be cooking with?
Butter. A stick of butter a day kept the doctor away.
Like whole butter, just regular butter.
It's got to be, clean butter. Again, you want to make sure that cow's not getting shot up with anything. So they'll brag about it. And there's good butters. There's lots of good butters out there, but no parquets, no margarines, because they're mostly made up of oil.
Real butter.
Real butter.
What about the unsalted butter? I've seen that. Does that matter? Because you said salt's okay.
At some point, you need to get the salt in your diet. I don't know whose salt they're using. It could be a super processed salt. So I would want to know who the salt was from. What is it that's in that salted butter? I use salted butter.
Okay.
So, you need to know the sourcing of it.
Got it. Wow. Definitely given some awesome input here.
Well, you know what I'm doing is I'm trying to keep all of your investors alive longer.
That's right, man. You can't make any money if you're stuck in a bed.
Exactly. If you're sick, and I talk to people all day long, every day that had amazing careers. They might have been engineers, they might have been doctors, they might have been research scientists. They're amazing life. And then all of a sudden the world crashes and then they seek me out to try and save them and bring them back to life, which I do. And you know what? I meant to start with this because this was the most important thing I wanted to say.
Okay.
If you were not born with it, it is my firm belief and my experience that it is reversible.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Shannon, you've been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. And how can people follow you and find you online and give them your social media stuff?
Okay, awesome. So to call me, I have a toll-free number, super easy, 844-275-1056. And guess what? Nobody needs to come to me. I do not have clients coming here into my office. Everybody sends me photos. So you can be anywhere in the world and get an analysis with me, which is really cool. And I love it so much better than going to people or having them walk into a building to see me. So you get to save all that money. My Instagram is instagram.com/thebodycan. So definitely follow me there. I put amazing stories and reels up and posts. So that's really cool. I'm on YouTube with some really killer videos. YouTube.com, guess what? /thebodycan. And it's can because the body can heal itself. It just has to have the right nutrients. So the internet likes to change it to CAM, but just put CAN and you're good. And those are the main ones. And my website itself, if somebody wants to get scheduled for an analysis and know the differences, it's thebodycan.com/schedule. /schedule. Yeah. And there's just a wealth of the analysis are amazing. You get multiple appointments with each one of them. So it's not just I look at you and then I'm done. It's every 30 days then you actually send me a fresh set of photos and together we're tracking your healing, because I love for my clients to get better and I have a really vested interest in the success of my clients.
Awesome. Dr. Shannon, thank you so much. You've delivered a wealth of information, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to find value in this stuff. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you for having me. I'm working all day tomorrow, but I'm excited about it because I got a lot of really neat cases come across. So
Okay.
thank you.
Awesome.
And hopefully the listeners loved the information that we gave them
I'm
today.
sure they did. Thank you.
Awesome.
Have a good one.